Okay, so before I show you how to make this, I would like to ask for some feedback about the Let's Code series as a whole. So there's two types of videos I can make for the Let's Code series. So I could either do it more of an explanation and tutorial type of video, or I could do it more as a like Let's Code or Let's Play kind of walkthrough video, where it's more of following me, less than learning directly from me. So there's kind of trade-offs with both, because if I do the more tutorial type where I make it beforehand, first of all I make the data pack quicker, but I also explain it to you quicker so it's easier to learn from the video. But if I do the other type, you actually get to see me go through and find issues and solve the problem, so you guys can kind of see how I debug and stuff like that. So depending on what you guys want, I'll basically change the style of the videos depending on what you guys make, or maybe I could try both types. But if you guys could leave some feedback on what you would like, that would be much appreciated. So now let's get into actually how to make this pistol. Welcome back to the Timber Forge. So today I'm going to be starting a Mandalorian data pack that is going to have a bunch of items from the Mandalorian show series. So if you don't know what that is, it's a Disney Plus show. It's Star Wars related. You probably have heard of it at least. But the first thing I'm going to start off with creating is the Mandalorian's Pistol. It's just going to be a basic raycasting pistol that does damage. Now, I already created it, but it had a lot of bugs that I had to go through because of a bug in the game with the rotation of armor stand. So I decided that I'm just going to remake it in a different way, because it was really hard to watch me like go through and try to bug fix it when there's actually some weird bug in the game. So I'm going to recreate it, and I'll just start right away. So basically, I'll start with the plan. Most of them I'm going to have a book with the plan laid out, but for this it's pretty simple. I just want it to be a carrot on a stick with the model, where when you right click it, it just shoots out a laser bolt basically, and it does damage to whatever it hits, and then it disappears. And that's all it's going to do. It's a basic gun. So I already created the model because it's very boring to watch me create it. So I'll just give me the carrot on a stick right now. And the custom model data I chose was 1928 and then 01. That's just what I happen to have. Whoopsies. And as you can see, that gives me the texture on it. Now this doesn't have anything with it, but that's basically all I have for right now. And I'll get started with the actual data pack itself. So I'll go over to my world folder. So this is my saves folder with all of my worlds in it. And then this is my testing world where I create all my data packs and stuff. I'll go into the data packs folder and I'll create the template pack. So this is in my how to create a data pack tutorial video. So if you don't already have the zip so you could keep duplicating it, then you can go download it from that how to create a data pack video. So with the template pack, I'm just going to rename it to Mandalorian Data Pack. And then I'll go into the pack.mcmeta and I'll change the description to Timber Forge Let's Code Mandalorian Data Pack. And then I'll go into data, and for some reason I have some weird version of my template pack, but you just replace this with whatever namespace you'll use. Make sure it's lowercase and no spaces, so I'll just call it Mando Pack. And then for the Minecraft tags functions, this is the tick, which basically tells the system which kind of folder or which function file you're going to use to constantly loop. So instead of whatever's here, I'm just going to call it Mando Pack Loop. And I'm also going to duplicate this because I also want to load. If you rename it load.json, you could also tell it which file you want it to run the first time when you reload the data pack. So Mando Pack load. So now I told it to loop Mando Pack loop and to load Mando Pack load. So in Mando Pack, I'm going to actually have to add those functions. So I have loop, and then I'll duplicate this. And this is going to be load. So now if I go into here, and I just replace it with, say, hi. And in loop, I go, say, loop. When I go in here and do /reload, you'll see that it said hi, and then it spams loop. See how it said hi once because it loaded it, and then it's spamming loop. So that's how you know you're setting it up properly. So now I'm going to open this up in the actual editor I'm going to use to create all of the files. I use VS Code for actually creating the data pack and Sublime Text for just quickly opening it up. Okay, so now I have VS Code open. So the first thing I'm going to do is create the scoreboard objective to detect the right clicks. So it's easier to write it inside of Minecraft because it actually tells you constant stuff about it tells you if you typed it in right or not. So I'm just going to do scoreboard objectives, add Mando RC. That's just what I'm going to call it. So Mando right click, and then it's going to be Minecraft.custom, and then Minecraft.used, and then carrot on a stick. So if I take that and I put it into here, and I delete the slash, save it, and I'll also delete the spam. Then when I do /reload, it should stop spamming and it should create a right click thing. So now I should be able to do scoreboard objectives set display sidebar. Now if I right click, there it increases. But in order to detect it, I can't have it constantly increase because I don't know what value would mean that I actually clicked it. So what I do is I do it so that every time it clicks, then it resets back down, back to 0. So all I have to do is detect if it's up to 1, because if it's up to 1, that means it clicked. So now I do scoreboard players remove all players Mando RC1. But I want to make sure that they actually have scores of Mando RC of at least 1, because I don't want it to just keep going down into the negatives. So 1 or more, that's what the 2 dots are. So now if I save this and I reload, it should reduce to 1. And actually I'm going to change it to set 1, because I don't want it to have a delay just in case they somehow spam it real weird. So now if it goes over 1, it resets back down, or it should reset back down. Oh, never mind, not set to 1, set to 0. So I automatically reset it down to 0 if they have at least 1. So as you can see, it just constantly resets. Now the thing is, you have to make sure that this is at the very bottom, because you don't want to reset it before your other commands can detect it. Because how it works is it sets to 1, and then it runs all the detection commands, detecting if it's at least 1, and then it runs this command, which resets it back at the very end of the tick. So I'm just going to have reset scoreboard at the very bottom. So now we could get to the actual fun part of creating the projectile. So normally for this kind of stuff, when you don't want it to instantly raycast, what you want to do is use an armor stand that gets summoned in front of you. So I'm going to do it so that anytime the player right clicks, it creates an armor stand and rotates it to the proper position so that it is rotated facing the same way that the player is facing at the time that it is summoned. And then I will have it automatically detect any projectiles and just send them flying forwards. So I want to be able to summon it when the player right clicks. So if the player's Mando RC is over 1 and they are holding the proper pistol, then I want to detect it. But in order to have that, I need to make sure that the player actually has a proper pistol, which I didn't create yet. So I'm going to go over to here in mcstacker.net, and I will just create a give command, which will activate on the load. So I'm just going to have it give an item, which is going to be the carrot on a stick. And it will be called Mandalorian Pistol with the unbreakable tag, count of 1, custom model data 192801, custom tag of Mando Pistol. There we go. That should be it. I could give it enchantment, but nah, I'm not going to do that. So I'm just going to copy paste this into the load function. So now if I go back into the game and do /reload, oh, it didn't give it to me. And that's because I want to give all players here on a stick. Yeah. Oh, Mando Pistol 1B. Make sure your tags have 1B at the end of them or they won't work. So now if I go /reload, there we go, I actually have the pistol. So this is just a normal carrot on a stick with the texture, and this is the actual pistol that I can detect with commands. And I actually want to change it a little bit. So I'm going to go back over here. First of all, I'm going to fix the tag. And I also want to change it so that it is not italic. And that the color is, let's see, I'll go with blue, why not? So it'll just be Mandalorian Pistol. And I'll make it bold. So now I'll go replace this. And Alt-Z makes it so that it indents it in VS Code. So now I'll reload and I should get the other Mandalorian Pistol. There we go. So now that we have the actual pistol, which I can use to detect stuff, now what I want to do is go over to loop, and then anytime the player right clicks while holding the Mandalorian Pistol, I want it to summon the laser blast. So I'm just going to create another function for actually summoning the laser blast. So I'm going to call it, let's see, new file. I'm going to call it pistol. I'm going to call it pistol blast summon .mc function. So now in here, well, first I'm going to have to make it so that this is actually called. So I'm going to go say boom, just so I could detect to make sure it's shooting when I want it to shoot. And then now I'm going to do an execute command on all players holding the pistol and with the score over 1 of Manda, or over 0 of Manda RC. I'm going to go execute as all players tag, no, not tag, scores equals Mando RC equals 1 or more. And I also want it to be so that they're holding the pistol. So NBT equals, and then so this is inventory NBT, which I don't remember exactly. So if you don't know how to detect certain NBT, what you do is data get entity at S. So now this is the data for my player. So now I just have to look for something that looks like a selected item. So this is selected item slot, but I actually want to see the selected item itself. Here we go, selected item ID, and it's inside, it's not actually inside of anything else. So all I have to do is selected item, colon, brackets, and then ID, and then tag. So NBT equals selected item, colon, brackets, and then inside of there, I have what's over here. So I go ID, colon, brackets, carrot, on a stick, and then I'll do count 1B, and then I want tag, colon, and then Mando Pistol 1B, and then bracket. And then if I just do run say hi, it should say hi. And the fact that it didn't say hi means I did something wrong here. So I need to look for what I did. So scores, oh, well, that's because it has to be the score has to be at least 1. So what I want to do is actually change this. So I'll just finish the command at s run say hi. So now I'll just put this in here, but instead of having the say hi here, I want the say hi or the say command to run from pistol blast. So I'm just going to go run function, and then Mando pack colon pistol blast summon. So now if I go here /reload, and I right click, it's not actually working, so I have to debug it. So get on the stick, count 1B, tag Mando Pistol 1B, run function pistol blast summon slash function Mando pack. So these are all right, so something's wrong here. Oh, it's because the I in selected item is lowercase. So if I change that and then do slash reload, still doesn't work. Let's see, NBT equals selected item ID caret on a stick. Oh, make sure you put ID as Minecraft caret on a stick. There we go. So now every time I right click, it says boom. So now that I know it's properly summoning this or running this function, I don't need to use say boom. Now I'm going to use the actual summon command. So I'm just going to use MC Stacker to summon an armor stand. So I'm going to go to summon. It's just easier to use MC Stacker so you don't have to manually type everything in for longer commands. So now for the armor stand, I'm going to change it so it's not invisible for now, but I'll change it to invisible later on. I'm going to have it be invulnerable, no gravity, and no base plate. It'll just be easier for me to use when it's like that. And I'm not going to put anything anywhere, but I need to make sure that the tag is pistol blast. So now if I take this and I put it into pistol blast summon, I also want to change it so that it summons somewhere in front of the player, kind of like where the gun is pointing. So I'm going to do it maybe 0.8 blocks up and maybe a little bit forwards and a little to the side. I don't even know if that's the right direction, but we'll see. So now if I reload, instead of saying boom, it should summon an armor stand. There we go. And that's on the wrong side. So I'll go negative 0.1. And I want it to be a little higher. There we go. That's about right. Yep. So since the armor stand's body is technically considered right here, that's the coordinate, and it's not on the head, I just want it so that the feet are lined up with me. So that's good. So now I want it to rotate properly instead of being like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do in the same command, so it's going to run right away on the armor stand. It's going to do execute as all entities tag equals pistol blast at s, and then rotated as nearest player oh, I put the wrong bracket here. Rotated as nearest player, run TP at S to the current location with the correct rotation. So it's going to run from all of the summoned armor stands, that's what this as is, and then at the position of it, so not just running as if it were the pistol blast, but also at the same position, but then change the rotation to match the player that is closest to it, which would be whoever summoned it, and then run teleport it to the location, which is basically where it is, so it's not going to change its location, but then also change to the rotation of the player. There are many ways to do this, but that's just one way. So now if I do it, you'll notice that it rotates. But the thing is, if you see how they all spun, even though, like, look at that one. See how it spun even though that one is the one that got summoned? What I need to do is make sure that it doesn't actually rotate unless it has been just summoned. So I'll add another tag instead of just pistol blast. I'll also do rotate me. And then for here, I'll do at e tag equals pistol blast and tag equals rotate me. And then it's going to teleport it. And then it's also going to remove the remove the tag. So then it's going to do run tag @s remove rotate me. And you can use that tag remove command only for entity tags, not item tags. So now you'll notice that none of these rotate. They only rotate once. Cool. So now we need to make them move forward, and that's what our next file is going to be. Okay, so sorry if the font was way too small for people watching on phones, but I upped the size a bit, so it's larger, but it's not like obnoxiously large where everything takes up like 5 lines. So now I'm going to create the next file, which is going to be run on all pistol blasts. So I'm just going to call it pistol blast.mc function. Now it's going to run on all of the summoned armor stands to send them flying forwards. So now what I'm going to do is for pistol blast, it's going to be run on all of the pistol blast entities. So I want that to run inside of the loop. So what I want to do is execute as all entities tag equals pistol blast at @s run function mando pack pistol blast. So now we have that, and in here I'm just going to do a teleportation command. So I'm going to do, but I also want to make sure that it's only air in front of it because I don't want it to teleport through blocks. So I'm going to do execute if block 0.1 blocks in front of it is air run TP @s 0.1 blocks forward. And the reason I do 0.1 blocks forward, and I'm going to copy paste this multiple times instead of just copy pasting, maybe like teleporting it 1 block forwards at a time, is because it's more precise. So if you have a 2.5 block gap between the armor stand and a wall, and you do it teleporting forwards by only 1 block at a time, then it's only going to teleport 2 blocks forwards. With this, it's going to actually teleport exactly 2.5 blocks all the way up. So it's just more accurate if you use a smaller distance and copy it over and over. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'll just have 20 for now. So this should be going at a rate of, so this is going to be 2 blocks per tick, which is what, 2, wait a minute, that might be too fast. Well, we'll see. Never mind, it's too slow. So, and now here you can see the issue that I was having before. See how it's not actually rotated properly? That was causing issues with the texture I had that was like a laser bolt, and it wouldn't rotate properly, so that's why I'm redoing this. But that's going to be invisible eventually anyway, so it doesn't matter for what I'm going to do this time. So if you'll notice, this is actually traveling like really slowly. It's only going 0.1 blocks forward per second, or I meant per tick. And the reason for that is it's actually, these are all redundant basically. And the reason that's happening is that it's just executing off of the position that the function is being run off of, and it's not updating constantly. So I can't do it like this. What I have to do is execute as @s so that it actually updates a position, because when I just do teleport at 0.1 blocks forward, every time it's just teleporting at 0.1 blocks forward based on where pistol blast was run from. So now if I do this, it should be a lot faster. Reload. There we go. See, now as you can see, it goes a lot faster. So now I could actually add the damage to it, and it should work facing down and everything. Okay, so I have a little range down here, and I just want to make sure it's actually going straight, because sometimes there's rounding errors and it doesn't go straight. But it looks like it's mostly going straight. So what I can do is get the data of the armor stand. So first I'll check my rotation. So I'm going to use my cursor to point it out over here. So my rotation is this number right over here. So what I'm going to do is get the data of the closest armor stand to me. Entity at e type equals armor stand. Sort equals nearest. Limit equals 1. So that's going to get the closest one. So if I send it and then hit enter, I could get the rotation 179.0045. Okay, wait, that's because, okay. I want to get like some weird roundable answer. So now you can see I'm 177.3 and negative 1.5 on the rotation in this area on the F3 menu. So if I send this and get the data, it should match that. It should not be rounded. And as you can see, it's not rounded here. If you certain rotation methods, if you use a different type, it might round the number. So you want to double check that it's actually accurately transferring the number over. So I know if you use a scoreboard, sometimes it'll round it because scoreboards only hold integers and that's a float. So you want to just be careful. So now that we have it teleporting forward, we want it to actually do stuff and we want it to be destroyed once it hits a block. So I'm going to do execute as at s if block, no, unless block 0.1 air run kill at s. So now it should die once it hits something. Yep. So now we want it to actually do damage to stuff. So I want it to do damage to anything that it hits, but I also want to think about how it travels through the air and when it wants to detect. So I'm just gonna like smack it in the middle. It shouldn't matter too much. So I'm just gonna do execute as at s if entity, and then let's see. I'll do type equals not an area effect cloud because those are sometimes used in certain data packs and stuff. Type is not an area effect cloud. Let's see, not an armor stand. Type equals not an item frame, but it shouldn't really matter too much because item frames are like on blocks anyways. So if entity blah blah blah, and then it's not that type, and then distance equals 0 to 1 block in distance, then I will run. I'll do Alt Z to get this indenting. Run kill at s. So first it's gonna kill itself if it comes within a 1 block radius, but I also want it to actually do damage. So I want it to do an effect command. So I'll do, let's see, slash effect give entity instant damage level 0. Oh, 1. Oh, how many seconds? 1 second, 0 damage. And then hide particles true. So 0 is actually the level, but it goes, level 0 is actually level 1, so it should still do damage. So if I take this and I paste it here, it should work. But I want to double check this guy. So I am actually not going to have it do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run it on this entity. So I take this entity and then I run the effect there. So basically it's going to give damage to anything in a 1 block radius, but also if there's an entity in a 1 block radius, it's going to kill itself. But now I could already predict a problem and that being that the player is going to delete it. So, oh, I guess that won't be a problem unless it's not even working. Let's see, function Mando pack. Oh, okay. So let's see. I get a cow. Oh, there we go. So as you can see, it also has a little bit. Sometimes it just disappears. And that is not something we want. And I think that has something to do with the distance to the ground. So I'm going to try summon a cow in the air and see if that happens. So I'm going to do no gravity. So no gravity, and if that happens, oh. Okay, so I think I'm going to up the distance a little bit. So I'm going to go 1.5 blocks. But also you'll notice that instant damage is kind of a lot of damage, but I'm just going to keep that for now until I think of some other system I might use, like summoning an arrow, but this is the simplest to do for now. So if I go into survival, let's see. Yeah, okay. It should work okay. So now we have basically a functioning pistol. And let me make sure this is... Yeah. So that missed. Yeah. So I just want to work on the accuracy and try to get it in. Okay, so a few things I'm going to change. The first thing I'm going to change is for the summoning. I'm actually just going to change it so that it is anchored eyes. So anchored eyes. And then it'll summon it like up to the face basically. So this doesn't matter because it's actually being teleported. Actually no, that should be fine. So what if I reload? I want it to be pretty accurate. So as you can see, it's like disappearing there. I'm not sure why. Because I did add that it won't disappear because of items. So part of the reason might be because of where I put this. Because it's basically teleporting it first and then it detects for the killing. No, that doesn't really make sense. So the issue here is that it's dying early, but it's probably not because of the entities. So I could test if it's because of the items. So right now it's disappearing and it looks kind of like it's the items doing it. So if I do /kill all entities type equals item, I'll see. It is because of the items, which is weird because I added... Oh, never mind. Guess I didn't add type equals not item. So I'll go type equals not item. So, okay, now I'll have fewer issues with that. So now it's just disappearing because of the ground. Yeah. Yep. So I could tweak the accuracy later on, but now let's get on with the main features of it. So the first thing I want to change is the cooldown. I don't want to be able to spam this, because right now I could just spam a stream of lasers, which is kind of weird, and that's not how it should work. So I'm going to add a cooldown. So when the player shoots, I also want it to set the cooldown. So for summon, I'll go over here and I'll create a scoreboard. So I'll first create it inside of load. So it'll be scoreboard, objectives, add, pistol, cool. Oh, Mando pistol, cool. Dummy. That just means that it only changes from commands. So now I'll go over to here and I'll do scoreboard players set at s Mando pistol cool to, let's see, set it to like 5, so you could do 4 shots per second, which is what, 4 times 60, so like 240 per. That's kind of low. It doesn't matter. So I'll set it to there for now, and then inside of loop, I'll do it so that it is constantly removed down to 5. Removed down to 0, and I'm gonna make sure it's not set down to 0 because I don't want it to instantly go down, because that defeats the whole purpose of changing the number. So scoreboard players set all players scores equals Mando pistol cool equals 1 or more. Oh, not set. I want it to be remove 1. And so I'll make sure that it only summons if Mando Pistol Cool is equal to 0. So over in loop where it runs summon, I will make sure that the scores also has Mando Pistol Cool equals 0. So now if I do /reload and I do /scoreboard objectives set display sidebar Mando Pistol Cool, which did not actually create. So let me go to load and make sure this is right. Scoreboard objectives add Mando Pistol Cool. Oh, I think it's too long. So Mando Pist Cool. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Now if I go scoreboard, objective, set display, sidebar, Mando, there we go. So now if I, oh, and see how I can't shoot? So that's one of the things you have to do, because it only lets you shoot if Mando Pistol Cool is down to 0, but I don't have a score because I never actually clicked yet. But I never actually shot yet, so it didn't change it ever. So what you have to do is just add it, make it add to 0. So scoreboard, objectives, no, not objective, scoreboard, players, add for all players, Mando Pist Cool 0. So it's going to add 0, which basically does nothing, but it makes it so that you actually have a score. So now you can see it shows up on the side. So now, let's see, something must have broken. Yeah, load loop pistol blast, so summon broke, which means something's wrong over here. So let's see, execute as, I probably forgot run, didn't I? No, play scoreboard, players set at S Mando Pistol Cool 5. Oh, it's just, there we go. And is there anywhere else I have to change it? Probably in loop, Mando Pistol Cool, Mando Pist Cool, and Mando Pist Cool. There we go. Now it's set to 5, but it's not reducing. Probably just forgot to change it. See, Mando Pist Cool. Scoreboard players remove. All players scores equals Mando Pist Cool of at least 1, which I do have 1. Huh. Oh, duh, I didn't actually set which one it's going to be. So, Mando Pist Cool. Because you have to tell it which scoreboard it removes from. There we go. So now, as you can see on the side, there's a cooldown. So if I spam now with butterfly clicking, there's a limit to how fast I can shoot, which is good because you don't want to be able to spam. So now let's test it. You can still spam, but just not as much. See, okay, see how multiple are getting hit? If I shoot it in a crowd, multiple get hit. So I don't want that to happen, so I'll just tweak that. I'll just change it so that it only does limit equals 1. So I'll go here, distance, blah, 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 limit equals 1, sort equals nearest. So it's only going to hit just the one nearest mob. Limit equals 1, sort equals nearest. So now if I go back and reload and I spam more cows, it should only, yep, it only does 1 cow at a time, even when I shoot it into a group. So that time it's not overpowered and you can't just spray down groups that are clustered together. And that's too many cows. Okay, so now I'm gonna work on the actual model for it. So before, what I did was I relied on the rotated armor stand in order to provide the model, but that results in, that's a problem because of that glitch that I told you about where it wouldn't actually rotate properly. Because as you can see, the armor stand getting shot out isn't actually rotated the same way I'm rotated every time. So like, as you can see there, it's like, it's not facing this way. So that was an issue, and that made it so that it wouldn't work the way I wanted it to. So I'm just gonna do it a different way by using floating items and see if that works. Okay, so when I upped the distance to 1.5, the issue is that it was detecting me as the player within 1.5 blocks when I summoned it, and then it would kill itself right away. So I just upped it to summoning 1.5 blocks in front, and it seems to work fine, and it doesn't look too bad. So something else I want to do too is I want to make it so that when it dies on the ground and it hits a wall or something, it kind of lets out sparks wherever it died, or wherever it impacted basically. So I'll do a particle command for that. So I'll make it inside of Minecraft just because it's easier. So I'll do particle, nope, not publish, particle, and I'll do, I think, the lava thing. Let's see, lava. Yep, so I'm just going to leave a default particle Minecraft lava. Yeah, it looks fine how it is. So I'm just going to go over to here. I'll go to pistol blast, and then anytime that it dies, it'll just run the particle thing. So that would be wherever it would have killed itself. So if it kills itself there, then it also would have run the particle, but I want to make sure it runs it before it kills itself, or else that won't work. So I put it there, and then it would have killed itself here. So I add a particle there. And later on I'll add sounds too, but I won't do that right now. Oops. Here we go. Now slash reload. Now when it dies, it should leave behind a particle. Oh no. Something happened here. Oh, that's what happened. There we go. So now every time it impacts a wall, it just summons sparks wherever it landed. It's a little subtle thing, but it makes it just a little bit cooler. So now I'm going to actually try to make the system that creates the particle effect, or the actual laser itself. So I tried using the model as I said before, but that didn't really work out. So this time I'm going to try summon like a line of items. Okay, so instead of trying to use the item, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a red dust particle summon at every point. So when I tried this before, the issue was that it would last for too long. So I would leave the default value, and it would really just mess it up because it would last for too long. So if you see here, I'm summoning the particle at every point, but what happens is it leaves behind a really large trail, which I definitely don't want. So what I found out is that if you shrink the size, then it makes it so that it actually doesn't leave behind the trail. So that's what I'm going to use for the particle. Now the particle is really small, so I might just add more and duplicate the command. But as you can see, it doesn't actually, oh, wait a minute. Oh yeah. Wait, not 0.1. I want it to be 0.2, because if it's too small, it's also hard to see. But if it's too big, then it takes too long. And I'll just replace all. There we go. Now you'll see that it actually leaves behind the trail, but it's not like super small. So it leaves a little bit of a trail, but it's still, especially if you're shooting longer distances, it looks more like an actual laser blast, or like the laser blast instead of just the big trail that I had before. But when I turn the size down, it leaves less of a trail, so I think I'll just keep it at the smaller size, which is harder to see, but then I will add more of the particle. So as you can see, the particles are really small. So if I spam a bunch of them, you'll be able to see how small the particle is. But then it also doesn't leave behind a really long trail, which looks dumb. Okay, so now I added a few more particles, but I didn't add too many because when I added too many, it became too laggy. So I just added a few more particles, and now I just have to adjust it a little bit because right now when I'm like around here, and I try to shoot at its feet, it just clips the ground. So I need to raise it up a bit in the summon command. It's like 1.2. There we go. So now it's better, and so the particle's a bit small, but I think it's okay because that's the best I could do without lagging out the game, because the model way didn't work. So this should be good for now. Oh, but as you'll notice, it also sparks when it hits an entity, and I don't really want it to do that. I just want it to spark when it hits a wall, so I'm just going to disable that portion over at Pistol Blast. You have to find the entity right here. No particle. Here. There we go. The only reason I added another kill is just in case it like kind of messes up in the middle of the distances and doesn't detect it, since I'm only detecting it like every block or so that it goes instead of every 0.1 blocks like I am with the distance. But now it's working fine. So now what I have to do is get some sound effects that I want to use for the gun. Okay, so now I'll show you how to add sounds into your game, your custom sounds from wherever you get it from. So I'll show you over inside of my resource packs folder. So this is my resource packs folder, and this is my resources for the Mandalorian Data Pack. And then assets, Minecraft. So normally you have just models and textures here, but if you want to add sounds, create a folder called sounds and a file called sounds.json. And then inside of sounds, create a folder called custom, and inside of there, drag in your audio file. And you want to make sure that your audio file, first of all, is lowercase, no spaces, is normal. And also make sure that it's a .ogg file. So if you have an MP3 or an MP4 or an MOV or something beforehand that you want to convert, I just looked up MP3 to OGG converter. I just dragged in my file and it let me download the OGG version of it. So if you want to do that, it's pretty easy. Just go online in order to convert it. So I have this sound which is from online. It's like a guy that just used a wrench to hit a wire and it sounds like the laser blast sound. You'll hear it later. But apparently that's how they made the real sound, so that's what I use. And then sounds.json is a pretty simple simple file. It's like 3 lines here. So it's just in quotations, whatever you want it to be referred to as in game. So custom.pistol_laser. This doesn't have to match anything. This could be whatever you want. And then you just follow the syntax, sounds, and then here, custom/pistol_laser. Now this has to be whatever the name of your OGG file, the audio file that you have inside of the sounds folder. Make sure that this matches. So mine is called pistollaser.ogg. So I put in custom/pistol_laser. Now, if you did it correctly, when you reload your texture pack with F3T, so doing /reload won't work, so you have to do F3T, and you should see a menu like this. And after it loads, what you want to do is type /playSound, and then type in custom, and then you should see that your custom dot whatever you put in the JSON file shows up, and if you play it, oh wait, you gotta put master, all players. If you do this, you'll hear the sound. Oops. So now all you have to do is add it to wherever you summoned it. Wherever you summon the... So go to Pistol Blast Summon. Whenever you summon the projectile is when you want to make the sound, of course. So I already put it in here. So all you have to do is add a play sound right into here. So I just put play sound and then the custom sound. Master, that just means it plays in the voice channel of master, which means if the player has any of these turned down, it won't affect it. The only sound effect that will change it is the master volume. And you could change that to whatever you want. There's options in the game that show up. And then I want it to play it to all players and from the location of the player that's actually shooting the blaster, obviously. And then these are just like volumes and the pitches. So I just kept it all default. Honestly, I don't even need this, but it doesn't really matter. So now, in game, when I right click and I shoot the laser, you'll actually hear it. And that really completes the rest of the gun. So that's all for today. In the future, I might add an accuracy system that makes it less accurate when you're running and more accurate if you're holding shift and standing still. But for now, it's alright. So I'll see you guys in another video of Let's Code, and I also want some feedback, as I said in the beginning. Could you guys give me some feedback on what you would prefer in these Let's Code videos? Would you prefer me to just pre-make it and then show you guys and explain how it works, or would you prefer me to go through the entire process and see my mistakes and see how I fix my mistakes? So the latter of those two choices is gonna make a longer and slightly harder to watch video, and it's also a bit annoying to edit. But the one before, you might not get as much info about how I go through the entire process. So I'm not sure which one all of you guys prefer, but if you guys could give some feedback, then that would be much appreciated. So I'll see you guys in another video.